November 8, 2024, in Amsterdam, there were clashes on the street between fans of the Israeli football club, Maccabi Tel Aviv, and many others. Western media, true to form, immediately went into overdrive to spread their disinformation about anti-Semitism, framing what happened as a pogrom against Jews. That it was a peculiarly Israeli form of football hooliganism escaped most commentators. There are two issues here. One historical, and one cultural. First, the historical context. Why is a football team from Israel, obviously a country in the Middle East, playing in the Union of European Football Associations, Europa League? When did Israel become part of Europe in the context of sports? The Israel Football Association, the IFA, was established shortly after the founding of the State of Israel in 1948. Initially, Israel was a founding member of the Asian Football Confederation, the AFC, in 1954, representing Asia in international competitions, including the 1970 World Cup. But, in the early 1970s, many Arab and Muslim nations, within the AFC, began refusing to play against Israel. This culminated in a Kuwaiti motion that led to Israel's expulsion from the AFC in 1974. Consequently, Israel found itself without a continental governing body for nearly 2 decades. After years of isolation, Israel began participating in European football competitions, in the early 1990s. The Israel Football Association became an associate member of the Union of European Football Associations, in 1991, and was granted full membership in 1994. This allowed Israeli football clubs and national teams to compete in European tournaments, including the Europa League and Champions League. The decision for Israel to join the Union of European Football Associations instead of returning to the Asian Football Confederation was influenced by ongoing atrocities against Palestinians, and thus the refusal of Asian many countries to play against Israeli teams. Europe had no such moral qualms about atrocities against Palestinians, and welcomed Israeli teams into the Union of European Football Associations. Since the 1990s, therefore, Israeli teams have been able to become blended into European football competitions. Thus, clubs like Maccabi Tel Aviv and Hapoel Be'er Sheva regularly participate in UEFA tournaments, including the Europa League, and are given heavy European police protection. But the problem of why Israeli football clubs were excluded from Asian competitions remains unresolved, and the recent incident in Amsterdam reflects the deeper problems within larger, Israeli football culture, in which Arab bashing is normal. But what exactly happened in Amsterdam? On November 7, 2024, Maccabi Tel Aviv supporters arrived in Amsterdam for a Europa League match against Ajax. They engaged in provocative actions, including harassing Muslims, tearing down Palestinian flags and chanting anti-Arab slogans such as, "Why is school out in Gaza? There are no children left there." Such chants are quite normal among Israeli football fans. Other examples just as outrageous include chants such as, "Death to Arabs," "May your village burn," and "Victory to the IDF," and so on. Before the match began, there was a minute of silence, in memory of the victims of the flooding in Spain, in which over 200 people have died. But these Israeli fans showed no respect and instead let off firecrackers, chanted their anti-Arab slogans, and yelled and screamed. After the game, there was more of this outrageous behavior, but this time, there was a reaction, and clashes and fights broke out, in which Maccabi Tel Aviv were confronted and beaten up. These clashes between Israeli fans and non-Israeli ones, for the mainstream media, became a pogrom, with lazy references to the Holocaust, and so on. The incidents reflect a troubling trend in which Israeli football matches have become flashpoints for broader societal tensions. Analysts note that expressions of racism and violence among Israeli fans have been increasingly documented, with reports indicating an 18% rise in violent incidents at football matches during the current season compared to previous years. However, such anti-Arab sentiments are nothing new among Israeli football fans. Back in 2012, there was the Mal Hamal incident, which occurred after a match in March 2012, when hundreds of Beitar Jerusalem supporters, part of the notorious ultra group, La Familia, assaulted cleaning personnel at Malha Mall. This incident was described as one of Jerusalem's largest anti-Arab clashes, where football fans attacked, while hurling racial abuse at Arab workers and chanted anti-Arab slogans. The Israeli attackers had weapons, and caused significant chaos before police intervened. Of course, no arrests were made, despite ample evidence of violent crimes caught on CCTV. And there is a marked difference between Israeli football hooliganism and European or British football hooliganism. Israeli football hooliganism, particularly among fans of clubs like Beitar Jerusalem and Maccabi Tel Aviv, is intertwined with extreme nationalism and anti-Arab sentiment. As noted, incidents frequently involve chants such as "Death to Arabs," reflecting a broader societal context where racial and ethnic tensions are pronounced and normal. In contrast, while many European hooligan groups also engage in nationalist or racist behavior, the specific historical and political contexts differ. For example, British football hooliganism often stems from class struggles and local rivalries, rather than the ethnic and national conflicts seen in Israel. The recent escalation of violence among Israeli fans has been exacerbated by ongoing conflicts, particularly following the events in Gaza since October 2023. This has led to a culture of genocide among some Israeli football fans, where fan behavior is aligned with broader Israeli societal attitudes towards Palestinians. In Europe, although hooliganism can be linked to various socio-political issues, it does not typically reflect an ongoing military conflict in the same direct manner. Recent incidents involving Israeli fans have included organized attacks on pro-Palestinian demonstrators and vandalism of Palestinian symbols during matches abroad, as seen in the clashes in Amsterdam in November 2024. While European hooligans also engage in violence against rival fans or minority groups, the context of these actions often centers around football rivalries, rather than a direct extension of national conflict. The response to hooliganism varies significantly. In Israel, authorities have been criticized for their lack of action against violent fan groups, allowing a culture of impunity to thrive. In contrast, European countries often have more established systems for addressing hooliganism, through law enforcement and sports regulations. The portrayal of Israeli football fans' actions has garnered international attention, particularly when incidents occur abroad. The recent violence in Amsterdam highlighted how local residents reacted to Israeli fans' provocations, resulting in violent confrontations that were less about football rivalry and more about political tensions. Thus, the reaction against Israeli football hooliganism was instantly transformed into anti-Semitism by Western media. In Europe, media coverage of hooliganism typically focuses on the actions of local fan groups, without the same level of international political implications. The impact of hooliganism on community relations also differs. In Israel, incidents can exacerbate ethnic tensions within society itself. While in Europe, although hooliganism can strain community relations, it is often more localized to specific rivalries or neighborhoods, and does not stem from societal tensions. The incidents in Amsterdam are part of a broader pattern of anti-Arab racism associated with Israeli football culture. The recent events only serve to draw attention, not only for the violence but also for the troubling expressions of an Israeli culture of genocide, in which Palestinians are always on the receiving end of dehumanizing abuse, violence and finally murder and annihilation. How long can the Union of European Football Associations continue to support such a culture of genocide by way of sport?